talk to us about what the good life is. I'd like to introduce to you our thesis panel. We have Mrs. Wilkins, who is our art teacher here, and Miss Austin, who is the geometry teacher, and we also have Mike Janning here with us. As our panelists, I would like to introduce to you Anthony Bender. Your advisor was Miss Austin, and we'd like to welcome you. We heard you and saw yours.
All right. The title of my speech is Self-Improvement, the Way to the Good Life. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming and listening to all of our great ideas of what the good life means to us. My senior thesis consists of 3 main points: working to become a better person, constantly improving relationships with others, and doing things to overall make you happier. Since I was young, I was taught lessons similar to these points. So when I had to create my thesis, I looked back at my childhood and the lessons I learned. These ideas of mine have all had a positive impact on my life. Working to become a better person has made me good at many things and made my life helped make my life more stress-free and overall enjoyable. The book I chose for my senior thesis was Charlotte's Web. Charlotte's Web is a book about a pig named Wilbur. He was born a runt, making the odds stacked against him. Wilbur is lucky though, because Fern decided she wanted to keep him. Her father at first was hesitant, but decides to let her keep him to teach her responsibility. She happily took the pig in like he was her child. Wilbur looked at Fern as a form of comfort and peace. Whenever Fern was around, he knew it would be okay. He caused some issues to the family, like the morning after they let him in the house. He ruined all of breakfast, but he's just a runt, he doesn't know any better. Eventually, Wilbur gets too big and he can't live in the house anymore. So they decide to send him to Fern's uncle's, Mr. Zuckerman. When he gets there, he meets many other animals. He's scared of the other animals at first because he's never seen them before. Eventually, he meets a spider named Charlotte. And Charlotte helps him get to know the other animals. Charlotte becomes Wilbur's mentor. This makes Charlotte a very important character in Wilbur's life. At first, the animals aren't very nice to Wilbur. The goose even tells them that by winter, they're going to kill him to make him food. And this terrifies Wilbur, constantly making him say over and over, "I don't want to die, I don't want to die." So Charlotte decides she's going to create a miracle and write nice words about him in her web. When Mr. Zuckerman sees the word humble in her web, he's astonished. He lets the whole town know what has occurred, and this miracle makes Wilbur very popular around the town. Mr. Zuckerman starts to value Wilbur, which makes Wilbur very happy. Mr. Zuckerman starts taking care of Wilbur, making sure he was good-looking and clean. Wilbur knew that if Charlotte kept helping him, Zuckerman was going to kill him during the winter. Wilbur became so popular, he got introduced to the county fair for best-looking pig. But during this time, he realized that Charlotte is getting old, and this makes Wilbur very sad to the point where he does not want to perform. But Charlotte reminds him that if he wins, he will live for a very long time. So this motivates Wilbur to stay cheerful, which led to him winning Best Pig in the county and solidifies him as more than just some pig. That evening, it was clear that Charlotte was declining and would not live much longer. Charlotte offers to give her children to Wilbur and bring back to the barn. Charlotte will not be able to make it back to the barn with Wilbur. Wilbur is forced to leave behind his best friend. When he returns home, he takes care of Charlotte's children. He was delighted to care for them as they were a reminder of his best friend. Just like Wilbur, growing into a better person has always been a focus of mine. I always strive to learn new things and be the best person I can. Some ways I've done this is by learning from my mistakes. I feel life is full of mistakes, but how you view them can change your outcome completely. I've learned to take mistakes as a learning experience. A mistake I made recently is when I injured my ankle the day before my senior basketball tryouts. I was going for a block on little Jacob Barna, and as I was going to leave and go home. When I landed, my foot bent completely sideways, and this led to me not being able to walk for several weeks. During those weeks, I had to learn how to play basketball through my injury and deal with the pain I was going to experience while playing. If I looked at this experience negatively, it could have been the end of my season. But instead, I worked around it and fought to be able to play. So instead of viewing it as a failure, I viewed it as a roadblock I had to overcome. Another goal I constantly plan to achieve is pursuing healthy relationships with others. In Charlotte's Web, Wilbur meets a lot of people that help him out. He creates a lot of healthy relationships with people that help him. But the one person that has a very positive impact with him is Charlotte. They both benefit from each other. Wilbur's life is saved because of Charlotte's friendship, and Charlotte is given a very impactful purpose to a very short lifespan. Her values will live on through Wilbur, which is always a goal in mind for her. Ever since I moved down to Florida, I live pretty far from my family. I always try to text them whenever I can. I go back to Minnesota every summer to visit my family. It seems sometimes that I've left my family behind when I moved to Florida, but when I got here, it just made me value their presence more. Moving down to Florida has also helped me make a bunch of new friends in the past 4 years at PCCA. My final point I feel many people take for granted is doing things that make you happy. A very broad topic, but yet so simple. In this world, I've seen people get upset about so many things and let their day get ruined by many types of small problems. I feel you should always look at the bright side of things and try to find good in all evil. One way I find myself having fun is with my friends and family. Even on my worst days, my friends and family will always make me smile. Like the one time I was upset about a past relationship and my friend told me, "Don't worry, man, there's plenty fish in the fryer," or whatever that means. Or when I fell and injured my ankle and my friend asked, "Did it hurt?" These moments have shown me that finding the good in bad situations will always make a positive outcome. Something my grandpa used to constantly say after something went wrong is, "Well, now you have a funny story." A story he used to tell me a lot is when he was hunting in Montana. He was on top of a very large rock above a valley, and he spent 3 days on top of that rock scouting for animals. Well, on his last day, he was packing up and getting ready to leave, and just a couple minutes after he got off that rock, the large rock fell thousands of feet into the valley. And instead of being scared and stressing out about it, he called my grandma and said his famous line, "Guess the stupid thing I just did." That's it. I don't know the conclusion. So.
All right, nice job. And so I'm going to let your advisor go first from the panel, or if you're willing to accept some questions. Good.
Good job. I like that you smiled and laughed throughout the entire thing. I love that. I have a few questions. One would be, which of your ideas or which aspect of your definition of a good life did you find the most difficult to express in writing?
I would say improving relationships with others, because like I've always had friends or like tried to make friends and stuff, but I've never really thought about like what, like I don't want to say like why I have friends, but like how they help me and how they impact my life. And so when I kind of put it into words, it was like it was a different experience than just being like, oh, they're just my friends.
Yeah, good. My other question would be, what did you find rewarding about this project? What was your biggest takeaway that surprised you?
I think it's surprising I was just able to come up here and do this. I don't like public speaking very much. I mean, I knew I had to do it, so the fact, knowing that I had to do it, I guess, I'm not really sure. It's just, I would say that's just the hardest part, is just doing it.
Just doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. My last question would be, if you had to pick one person that would be the best definition and representative of your good life, who would it be?
That's a hard one. You got me with that one. I'd probably have to say my grandpa. He taught me a lot, and all throughout, from like almost all my life, I spent a lot of time with him. While my parents would be at work, I would be at his house, be with my grandma and grandpa, and he'd always be doing stuff with me and my cousin, and I think that kind of connected all of us, and I still text my cousin every day. I still try to call my grandma whenever I can, but yeah, I think just his impact on my life kind of showed me what I wanted to be.
Very good. Very good job.
Why did you choose this book?
Actually, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a funny story, but at my old grandma's lake cabin, she used to play the movie all the time on like a VHS. And so when I saw it was an option, I was like, oh, I love that movie. And it was like, it's kind of the first movie I ever watched. And then like, I was like, oh, I bet the book would be good too. So I kind of went with it.
In your life, as you have these, you sound like your ankle, moving away from family, just some adversity. Like, who's your Charlotte?
Probably just my family in general. I don't think it's one specific person, but always being around my close family has always just been a nice support that I can always lean on.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna make you do it. All right, so you said you have no conclusion, but you really do. It's in there.
Yeah.
So what is, in 3 sentences, 30 seconds or less, wrap it up. What is your good life?
I kind of struggled with it. That was my
Okay.
problem. And I kind of wanted to end it on so when I had my conclusion, I had it as that little story just because I like that story. I kind of wanted to end all this stuff I did on something I kind of like to write about. So I guess I made my conclusion what I wanted it to be, what I wanted in my life.
Okay, good,
Very good.
very good.
So if you had to do this over again, would you choose the same book?
Yeah.
And whoever had a good life?
No, he's a pig. So.
I think everyone needs a Charlotte in their world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So Charlotte exemplifies a lot of how you can help someone else's life be good.
Yeah.
What can you learn from Charlotte with how you're gonna be a husband someday, maybe a boss, maybe a dad? You have a lot of roles where you're gonna be in the position that you can, instead of, identifying with the pig, identify with Charlotte, and how can you duplicate what she did for Wilbur?
I think Charlotte is like a very good representation of like being super selfless. Like she cares about others, and in Wilbur's case, at the start of the book, he's fairly selfish, but it's because he's immature and he doesn't realize that his the world doesn't revolve around him. And Charlotte, in some ways, helps him realize that because after she starts declining and coming to her end, he realizes all good things come to an end in some way. And I'm not really sure I'm going with this, but essentially Charlotte is the motivator to Wilbur, that he has to kind of mature and realize that the world doesn't revolve around him. And I feel like everyone in this world needs that.
Good answer. Good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Thank
Good.
you.
Good job.